May I now invite Mr. Deshmukh to look at it from an architect's perspective, especially someone who has designed some enormous townships.
Vatve and Joshi, we started our career together. And we were having a lot of discussions amongst our technical people. They are structural engineers, structural consultants, the architects, and many times the architects want some fantastic ideas or different ideas, but they were always the backbone of the how to make it possible. But still with compromising, now he said waterproofing and landscaping, etc. But I know I can tell you we had done huge landscape terraces which were designed by them and originally designed, not by addition on balconies, etc., etc. Now they have given the major part of the safety of the buildings. But I would like to draw your attention not on the buildings, the maintenance and safety of the built environment. We talk about the buildings, safety, because it's really fatal if there is an accident in the building, and structural safety is the most important for that. But maintaining the built environment is also very, very important. Otherwise, we are sitting on a silent bomb. That's why I said the maintenance of safety of the built environment, this is a very important aspect we should consider. And that has not been properly paid attention by the people or the occupants or people, authorities. So built environment, for example, one example, if you don't have the proper built environment in the city, surrounding your buildings, inside your buildings, then many disasters can happen. For example, it is estimated that around 1 million people in Mumbai are affected by dengue every year. You can imagine what a big loss, enormous loss of manpower if 1 million people in Mumbai are affected by the dengue or a swine flu in a small way. Enormous. How many man-days are wasted? And that is because of the unhygienic, unsafe built environment. Like that many. Commuting, traveling, transport, all those things are there. So built environment, safety of the built environment is equally important along with the buildings. I'll go through because some of the slides already, I'm going to show already, Vatve and Joshi has already touched to that. I will just quickly go through it and then we'll come to that another phenomenon, sick building syndrome or sick city syndrome. So built environment refers to a human-made surroundings and accommodates human activities in the buildings and its surroundings, including the supporting infrastructure such as water supply, energy network, fire safety, security, health, etc., etc. And those major services what we use in the buildings, water and drainage and energy supply system and the fire services and solid waste management system. Because I'm quickly going through it because many things are there covered. Water supply system, what we see that today's situation in city, quickly show those slides. Water supply system, damp walls, and water logging system, unhealthy living conditions, then the windows, corners leaking, damp walls, energy supply system. You can see there many places. You will see how the supply lines are provided, their maintenance, then how the electrical connections are done. Short circuits. Most of the fires are because of the short circuits. Fire services, and as today, the fire norms are quite strict and they are strictly seen that or monitor, they are implemented, installed as per the rules and the regulations by the Fire Act. But afterwards, what happens to these fire systems? The pipes are rotten, the walls are taken away, it is not functioning. After 5 to 10 years, most of the buildings' fire systems are not functioning. They dump, the fire extinguishers should be kept open and easily accessible, but they dump their material in the passages. So people are, it is not accessible for the people when in case of any fire. Education about the fire safety is one of the most important thing, and it is to be done quite rigorously, voluntarily also, and authorities also pay attention to that. You know, one well-known joke is always told. There was a big fire in a building, huge. People started running here and there. And one person, there was a fire extinguisher, was hanging on the wall. He just took out that fire extinguisher and threw into fire. He was not knowing how to use the fire extinguisher. And opening the fire wall, etc., fire hose, reel, etc., that is again very difficult. People don't know, even they don't know how to use the fire extinguisher. It's a fact. So training of the people of the fire disaster, people should know how to use it, or at least they should be literate enough to having the layouts of the fire escape, etc., etc. Because now it is mandatory to provide fire escape staircases, then fire lifts, etc. So that has to be, all the occupants of the buildings are to be educated about the fire norms and fire solutions. The fire safety norms, there are many. They are not touched, that's why I am touching to this. National Building Code has a separate section dealing with the fire and fire safety, quite comprehensive section. The code specifies the construction, occupancy and protection features that are necessary to minimize the danger to life and property from fire. Separate norms are provided with respect to the use of buildings, and fire norms are prescribed based on the height of the buildings. They are very specific about the proportion of the fire buildings. Intensive fire safety precautions are to be taken, are to be provided. And it includes various necessary systems like automatic fire detection, automatic sprinkler system for high-rise buildings, emergency lighting systems, fire doors, fire exits, horizontal exits, travel distances are also, the specific fire distance you have to maintain in the buildings. Use of non-combustible materials above the fire building more than 15 meter height. But all these things are to be taught to the people. They should educate it for that. Then another thing is when you come to the built environment, solid waste management is one of the areas of concern. We are so ignorant about the solid waste management. We throw our garbage, it's not segregated, it's not collected, and creates lot of hazards as well as the inhygienic conditions. You will find the public garbage bins where you are inhumane scenes. People are there, cows are there, dogs are there, pigs are there, and they are trying to find out from that garbage. Is it requires a rocket science to get rid of this problem? It is not. It is not. It's quite simple technology. Segregation at source and use recycling and the biodegradable solutions. It's not impossible. It is done. Because I have spent nearly 20 years about this solid waste management, solid waste eradication, and first 15 years the experience was really depressing. Educated people, the well-planned societies, it was a problem. But now the township were designed and made a system, architectural solutions, physical solutions, and the systems for the collecting the garbage, etc. The 50,000 population, 100% garbage eradication. It is possible since last 8 years. No public garbage bin. Everybody has to segregate the garbage, and biodegradable is taken for the vermiculture plant, and recyclable material is given to those recycling manufacturers, and they earn money out of that. It is possible. Even foreign countries, what we say, we talk about Singapore, we talk about Europe, what is it? Systems are already there, very simple systems. But this has to be implemented for the built environment. Garbage is the biggest problem. In Bombay, you see everywhere when you walk, when you talk, when you travel, you see this problem. Entire Bombay, or part of Bombay, will see all the garbage bins, or it's like a whole city with the garbage. These are those segregation systems, and even refuse tall building is a problem of maintenance. Some are really installing very good system for the refuse chutes that segregated garbage can be. But if those refuse chutes are not maintained properly, it becomes a big hole for the cockroaches and the ants and the insects. Now, external environments, as you said, we have the external environment with the water logging, water ponds. There are breeding grounds for mosquitoes. There have to be, this inbuilt environment has to be, we have to pay attention. At least surrounding area, in our area, what can be done? Surface drain, accumulated water, gutters, they are the breeding grounds for mosquitoes. And that I told you, one disaster. If 1 million people in Mumbai are affected by the dengue, 1 million into they waste at least 1 week to 2 weeks because of the dengue. That means 150 million man days are wasted. What an enormous loss. But it is possible if you pay attention properly to this. These are all the filthy area. I'm showing you all slides from Mumbai. Result of poor maintenance, they have mentioned, result of poor maintenance and safety. Because of serious ignorance about the maintenance of buildings and built environment, it results into sick building syndrome. This is a syndrome we call sick building syndrome, because the entire building is sick. The sick building syndrome is used to describe a situation in which the occupants of the building experience acute health or comfort-related effects that seem to be linked directly to the time spent in the building. As much as you stay in those buildings, you feel sick. Your health is deteriorated. You don't feel that you have energy to do anything because the entire building is sick. No light ventilation, garbage is dumped, mosquitoes are there, dust is gathering, trees are growing on the buildings, water is leaking, drainage lines are broken. How people will sustain or how people will feel healthy if they are staying in such buildings? The basic causes for this sick building syndrome is poor maintenance, as I told, poor indoor air quality, poor hygiene and cleanliness indoors as well as outdoors, poor day lighting. I think last month only there was a news that the Mahada colony allottees, they refuse to take the possession of those flats because there is no light ventilation for those apartments. They refused. Vastu Shastra, they were telling about that Vastu Shastra, etc. But what we refer to old Vastu Shastra, if you even now we refer that also, what it says that the buildings which has got a good light and ventilation, that is a beautiful building. This is a statement in the Samarangan Sutragar, which is the basic Vastu Shastra scripts. The building which has a ample light and ventilation, that building is a beautiful building. And first priority should be given to that. That is a statement in the Vastu Shastra. But people now, that is another different big topic about the Vastu Shastra. Let us not touch to that. Unmaintained building, wizard and atmospheric conditions, the structural safety, what he has mentioned, all these things, structural safety, I will just keep it. As is shown, the trees growing on the buildings. And building audit, now, which is the most neglected part of the maintenance and the safety of the buildings, is a building audit. All buildings, what we construct, especially are designed by the architects and the structural designers. Those buildings will have a long-lasting life if you maintain it properly. And building audit is one of the important factors into that. There has to be involvement of the people, government, or concerned authorities for the maintenance of the building. People on their own, they should come out and they should say that we have the maintenance manual and we are going to follow rigorously that manual. And same thing, if they don't do, there is requirement some policing. But policing should be 10 to 15%, 20%, but 80% people's involvement is required. But people are most ignorant. We don't pay attention. Why to spend money for the petty things? And buildings in Mumbai, you find buildings which were constructed 30, 40 years back. They constructed and they never painted. Even simple, take the matter of a painting of the building. And while painting, you automatically you repair the drainage lines, water lines, electrical lines. Automatically it happens. But you will find 90% buildings in Mumbai are not painted for nearly 30, 40 years. There has to be some manual. There has to be some rules. And we should follow that. The building audit is scrutiny of the building elements. This should be carried out on a regular basis. Ensure safety, security and health of the buildings. I'm specifically adding the health of the building. Because many people unauthorizedly, unknowingly cover the buildings. They install huge cages around the buildings, grills to put some pots there or occupy more space or get more space. It looks ugly as well as it gives a really damage. It really damages the buildings. Each project should have a maintenance manual. As he explained, a small car we take at 4-5 lakh rupees car and you get a very comprehensive maintenance manual. Why not a flat? It must be made mandatory. Every builder or reputed builder or any developer has to make it practice. And if they don't give, the consumers should be aware that they have not given and they can sue them. There should be law enforcement over the building maintenance for a model maintenance manual given to be every project. Based on the audit there should be action program for the maintenance. Manual is there. You know how many people who have bought cars, even they might have bought the Mercedes also or BMW also. But how many people open it and see the manual? That is also a matter of investigation. Same thing. Even though the manual is given, it should be studied. It should be implemented. And there has to be a regular action program for that. And overall, the structural audit is the backbone of the entire maintenance system. Periodical and effective measures should be adopted for the structural safety. Painting, preventive maintenance is another aspect to be paid before anything disaster happens. Prevention is always better than cure. Now, I will leave the remaining time for the question and answers, but let me touch to a couple of things. Nowadays, we talk about the smart cities and everywhere, from Gully to Delhi, smart cities. But what are the smart cities? According to me, a smart city has to be a livable city. When you live in any city, it has to be a livable city. And the safety and security is the most prime objective of that city. And for that, you have to create a built environment. Of course, in smart city, they are only paying attention to using the technology, etc., etc., etc. But using most modern technology is not going to be sufficient unless until the people are involved into that to maintain that or implement that. Last week only there was a news in Pune Municipal Corporation spent 15 crores on CCTV cameras. They are not functioning. System failed. The education of the people is most important about the security, safety, and how to maintain the livability of our city. And there is no requirement of rocket science. Very simple technologies, very simple systems are available. What is required is the willpower of the people and authorities and policymakers to do that. Friends, I am really happy Suchita Dalal and they have, and especially the Sunil Bajaj, he really after us to come and say something about that. Because they are having the Moneylife, they are always talking about Moneylife, finance, etc., etc. But that is the money in. And real estate is real estate. It's a wealth.
Part of life.
Part of life. Along with the money, it is real wealth, not just money. So if you want your house, your colony, your city as a wealth, asset of the city, asset of the country, then we have to do this. Maintaining the safety, security and livability of our buildings and built environment is in our hands. Even the people, government is also in your hand. If you pressurize the government, they will have to pass the laws, legislation for that. This is very, very sensitive issue, and we are working. I'm working especially for this, because the first public garbage bin to remove, which was near my house, it took nearly 10 years. And after 10 years, I found solution, and I made a system in a city which is having 10,000 apartments and 50,000 population, totally garbage eradication there. No smoking on the roads, smoking zones are there. Totally built environment is maintained, and automatically it creates the impact on the life of the people. Even they are smokers, they don't smoke because nobody is smoking there. Such a beautiful environment is created. Smoking, they feel that something is condemning to them. So that can be done. The people's involvement is there. So I'm really happy so many people have come here and showing concern about this topic. And this shows the indication of people are really becoming aware of that. It can be done. It can be done. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deshmukh. Very heartfelt talk. I'm happy to tell you that this audience has a lot of activists who've been working very hard on many of the issues that all of you speakers have raised today. And we have a bunch of students who are going to be the future and who are going to take forward all the advice that you're giving us.
My name is Anil Gachke. I'm the General Secretary of Electrical Contractors Association of Maharashtra. Mr. Watwe and Joshi has mentioned and they given more importance to the fire due to electricity. If anybody is to be blamed in this situation, it is the developer and the architect, because they don't provide adequate room for the control panels. At many of the buildings, residential or commercial, you will find that the control panels and the electrical meters are accommodated under the staircase. The cables and wires which are used over there are brought by either a civil contractor or the developer, which are of substandard, and work is carried out by unauthorized or unlicensed contractors, particularly labor contractors. So if these are the conditions, and this is just to save the money, how much money they save, God alone knows. But to save the money, they are using unethical practices, and ultimately, if at all there is anything which is to be rectified, you cannot rectify because there are no plans available, there are some makeshift arrangements are made. So if this is the situation, what is the action the architects and the project management consultants are going to take over the developers and the building contractors?
Basically, we accept your problem, but that is the reason we are trying to educate the consumer. Basically, he has to be aware what he is getting for his money, what he is spending for it. Bad quality of wires, then sufficient room is not available for electrical panel, or we talked about load or everything. That consumer has to be aware that what he is getting, and when he start insisting that I want this kind of rooms, this kind of facilities, and this kind of wires of this quality, I think this will change. Only what we are getting as a consumer importance, that is what we want to make a shift. That people are saying good elevations, nice marble, good interior, good quality electrical and plumbing fixtures, not inside what is going on. People start asking what is going inside also. I think so this will change.
Sir, I have one question. The building in which I am staying, it is about 75-year-old. The building is very strong. It is as strong as mine because I am 81. And only one problem in that building is the drainage pipe has been going underneath the road. When the building was built up, at that time, I do not know what was the design, or technically I am not qualified. But at that time, the drainage pipes were taken underneath the roads, and they are so deep. Every few months, the dirty water comes out from that. So I went to the authorities to find out what is the reason. And they said की ते ड्रेनेज पाईप फार जुने झालेत ना, त्याच्यामुळे ते सगळे जंगलेले आहेत आणि त्याला आम्ही काही करू शकत नाही. मग मी त्यांना विचारलं की तुम्ही करू शकत नाही तर आमच्यासारखे छोटे छोटे लोक काय करू शकणार, ते आम्हाला माहिती नाही. हे त्यांचं ॲन्सर होतं. त्यामुळे माझं तोंड मला बंद करणं भागच होतं. पुढे मी काही बोलू शकले नाही सर, पण अजूनही तो त्रास आम्हाला आहे, तर त्याचं सोल्युशन मला पाहिजे. कॅन यू प्लीज हेल्प मी?
The drainage pipeline is a colony line, big pipeline, no? It's not a small domestic pipeline.
Yes.
See, the public drainage lines is BMC's duty to repair it. If they are old, still this is their duty to do that. You can compel them to do that work, because as an individual flat owner, no one can do that, because it's a job of a expertise plus a lot of money involvement. And another thing is, why you are paying is, you are a taxpayer, huge taxes to Bombay Municipal Corporation. That is their duty to repair that. If they don't repair that and give the casual answers, you can take them to consumer's court or any court of law also. But that is their duty to do that. They cannot refuse flatly because it's old and this. If it is old, they have to repair it.
Yes, sir.
But for years, 75 years, they have recovered taxes from you. So that means you have paid the taxpayers' money they are having. They have to do it. You can file a case against them. They have to do it.
They have to do it.
Yeah.
So I have to approach the building department.
Yes.
And
Then
get it done.
first you go to consumer court.
Consumer court.
Yes, when they will get a summons from the consumer court, because it is easy to approach the consumer court, and they took fast action. They will, because bureaucracy, my experience, they are afraid of only three people. One is the politicians, top boss. Second is media. And third is the judiciary. Okay. Now you can't approach the media and government or politicians, you can't approach. You can approach the court. Go to the consumer's court. Go to any other ordinary court also, because of that, and file a case against them. Because of that in-hygiene condition, this is my great loss. So you can file, and the action can be quick.
Thank you, sir. I think going to the consumer court will be the easiest way for me to approach. Thank you so much.
Please, Rek. I do understand the need of this structural audit. Can you tell me that the cost, approximate cost of the structural audit of a 7-story building?
The cost of the structural audit will depend upon the condition of your building. Because what happens, there is a fixed cost for the consultant's visit. And there are variable costs in terms of the tests which are required to be conducted. May I know how many years the building is old?
10.
10 years, unless you have any distress signals.
No.
If there are no distress signals,
No.
then it is the visual inspection usually should suffice for a building of this age. And depending upon the person who is conducting the audit and his manpower rate, usually these costs are ranging between 50,000 to lakh of rupees.
Okay. The next question is related to this. What the frequency of this audit should be?
I'll just continue the answer. The government under 265A has mandated that every building needs to have a structural audit after 30 years from the completion of the occupation. But there is another law which has come about. I do not know exactly the legality of it, because the Cooperative Housing Society Department have made it recommendatory, not necessarily mandatory, that this audit should be done after 15 years
15
and
years.
then every 5 years. But as far as my belief is concerned, the legal part says it's 30 years for the first audit.
Same question stands for this painting frequency.
Painting frequency, ideally, if you will ask me, the answer, ideally 5 years, but not later than 10 years in any case.
Okay, thank you very much.
MADA building, gone into redevelopment. We have paid the stamp duty registration. At that point, others happened, and there are 850 files stuck for 6 years. Age of the building, 52, 53. Buildings are falling, people are dying. My feeling, it will still survive. I know engineering-wise 60, 70 years. But there is severe fear factor and a lot of quality stress in the building. Everything gone through, structural audit, all that. I'm an electrical engineer, but I can understand what you're talking. What's the way out if the DP doesn't happen or whatever? We are waiting for the DP. Point number one. Second, very important question. Human. In Mumbai, 2,533 building collapses till date. Death counts not counted. It is rated as accidental death. Can somebody own the responsibility? That's it.
It's difficult to answer your first question because for the DP you will have to be talking to the competent authorities. We are all practicing architects and engineers. And secondly, again, it's a moral question that how many deaths and who is morally responsible.
No, sir. We are hiding from responsibility by sharing responsibility and not anyone being responsible. That's the sad part. Municipality, no, I'm not laughing. I'm very serious. It's death. Okay? So
That's
let's
what I'm
be
saying.
some law where somebody could be like Upahar just now. I don't want to go very far. It's a sad commentary. I'm not against money or whatever. Something is wrong there in that judgment.
I am in entire agreement with you.
Good evening, sirs. Thank you for the lecture. I have a specific question that, there are so many things we need to do. We need to do structural audit, a fire safety audit. We need to get the plumbing checked. We need to get the drainage checked, water supply lines checked. So how does one go about? I mean, I'm a regular member of a cooperative society and we stay. Structural audit, I think we can go to a structural engineer or whatever. But all the other stuff, especially the fire safety audit, who do we approach? Is it the fire brigade or are there some consultants? How does it work?
See, there are some agencies who do the comprehensive audit.
Okay.
All services, including structural.
That would be very interesting, sir. Could you probably share with us?
There are some agencies which are having a group of people, structural engineer, then the plumbing engineer, services engineer. They have got a group of people, and some are very standard. So any consultancy which is having that comprehensive audit, they can undertake that also, and they give the certificate. Okay. So you don't have to run from pillar to post.
So where can we find this person, this kind of person? Is it
especially the chartered architects or chartered engineers, what they call the experience, 20, 25 years experience. They run this structural
chartered architect and engineer.
And even the senior architects, like having a 20 years experience, or structural consultant having around 15, 20 years, they can do this audits.
Thank you. Thank you.
That I live in a new building about 7 years old. Now I find a seepage of a different type. From the bottom it is coming up. Is there any special reason for it and how to tackle it?
May I know which area you live in?
Matunga.
Do you have a basement? Do you have a basement in the building?
Lift man?
No, basement.
Basement? No.
The building, the moisture comes through the capillary action also. So most possibly it is the capillary action which is bringing in the moisture from the ground. Ideally, what should be done is what is called damp-proof course at the plinth level. If the damp-proof course is missing, then these moistures can make their way into the superstructure. So if it is on just a 7-year-old building, I would suggest you check up with your developer or the concerned engineer that what kind of damp-proof treatment was given at the plinth level.
Okay.
Is it a ground floor? Your house is on ground floor?
No, I am living on the second floor. First floor is a street
No, but
for parking.
he's saying that moisture is coming up, and that's what is being observed, if I get you correctly, sir.
Yes, sir. From the bottom it is coming up.
That's right, sir. It is basically the subsoil water is at a higher level, and the capillary action brings the water in. That's the main problem.
On the second floor level, there will be no subsoil water. What he is facing is the problem of efflorescence. In Mumbai, when you lay down these tiles, the sand that is conventionally used is creek sand and not river sand. And the excess salt from the creek sand always tends to surface out on the walls at the lower level. You ask him, it will be maybe about 6 inches or maximum 1 feet below the ground level. That will be the problem. And that happens everywhere, anywhere and everywhere in Mumbai.
Now, I believe that his problem, as I had understood, was in the plinth he is getting the moisture up.
So he is getting it on the second floor
Are
in
you
his
getting it
flat.
on your
Second
apartment?
floor, not on the plinth,
But are you getting in your apartment?
within the apartment.
Oh, that's an entrapped water under the flooring.
So I want to say that in Mumbai, there are certain areas which are below sea level. Below sea level. So there, at least at the ground level, the water comes out, sitting out. Like you will find certain places in Kulaba, certain places at Nana Chowk. It happens. Invariably it happens. Because they are below the sea level. But that might be the case at that particular Matunga.
But you construct the basements which is on the coast also. So we have to contend with the water when you do the construction under the sea level.
But there are certain buildings, you find, in South Mumbai, which, the water sits out, from at the ground level at any time.
I understand. What you need to do is that what is considered as hydrostatic uplift, that building has to be designed for the necessary hydrostatic uplift. And the reason could be that hydrostatic uplift has not been accounted for.
So another question I have, and that I think requires a bit of elaboration, is that how to fight an electrical fire. Generally people use water which is wrong and sand should be used. Now, I think a few words from you may be better.
Many buildings earlier used to have buckets of sand were kept. Now that has been nearly outdated. Everywhere, the preliminary firefighting is a fire extinguisher. And they have to be arranged in the building at various places. That is also specific norms are there. And a prima facie, they should first able to use the fire extinguishers. A small percentage or small quantity of fire, it can be done with the fire extinguishers. But if it is more than that, the solution is to run away. Call the fire brigade and run away with the fire escape staircase or even fire lift escape. The fire lift also, you should run away and vacate the building and call the fire brigade. Because if the fire is in a big way, then only fire brigade people can fight with that. So, but fire extinguishers are the preliminary, the equipments have to be kept in every building, hanging on the wall, and at least the fire extinguishers, how to operate it, everybody should be educated.
Good evening, sir. That was a wonderful presentation. My question again is on fire safety. I live in a building which is at Worli, which is about 30 years old, and we have a restaurant at the ground floor of the building which stores gas cylinders. We have a basement which was originally earmarked for parking but used for other activities by the restaurant. We have children and aged people in our living in a building. My question to you here is that where can I get information on the mandatory fire safety regulations which need to be established and carried out by the building society? Because so far it's not been done in our building.
See, there is a special fire act has been enacted, I think 4 years back. A quite comprehensive act is there. Number one. Number two, there is a very comprehensive book on National Building Code and it's a huge chapter on the fire safety. You can access the National Building Code also on the website. And this Maharashtra Fire Safety Act also is on the government website. You can access that. Very elaborately they have given what is to be done, what precautions to be done, and what are the prevention, whether does yes and no, etc., etc. You can go through it, and if they are violating those norms,
exactly,
you can file a complaint against them.
Okay. And as an extension to that, I believe that there is every 6 months the buildings are supposed to have a fire audit by the fire brigade department.
Yeah, if there are the specific buildings, commercial buildings and high-rise buildings, etc., not only the audit, but every periodically 3 months or 6 months, they have to have the mock drill, fire drill.
And this is mandatory?
This is mandatory. The fire department has to come and see that and do the mock drill.
Thank you very much, sir.
So I'm Prashant Javari, advocate. There are two useful bills which are lying in Parliament. One is the building authority at center and one is another building authority at state. Both are lying there. Both have been drafted by the members of the parliament, honorable members. And
Yes, you mean real estate authority?
Real estate
Real estate
authority.
bill.
Yeah, real estate bill. And in that only point has been dealt is of the permissions, whether the builder has got permission and this and that, nothing. So Indian Architects Act, it is an act by Parliament itself, plus National Building Code, and plus here Maharashtra Cooperative Act. All these three acts, if they are put together, because building, if they don't, builder will somehow get the permission this way, that way, whatever. Let us not go into those details. But nowhere in this committee, even they came to Bombay here, parliamentary committee came here, but nobody from PIETA, from Indian Institute of Architects, nothing, nobody has taken as big professional. So it's very sad story, because this has to be included, because the building is constructed, because they may give some interim relief that you, all right, permission is given for 10 stories, you do it like that. Then for next 3 years, this should be made mandatory, compulsory. Fire audit, this, another is this solid waste management. So builder with the professionals, they should, I mean, not professionals are not, they won't do so much. But builder who does whatever, there are also good builders. So like that some benchmark is given or some strict rule norms. So then this problem can be solved up to 25%, even at the initial stage.
See, there are some basic, you have to be clear about the basic understanding. When any building is constructed, developer or anybody, any owner and consultants, they got some limitations about they got responsibility about execution. And if building is standing and before the building completed, they have to vouch for the structural safety and stability of the building. Same thing, architect has to vouch because this building is considered as per the sanction plan, etc., and legality, etc., etc. Same thing, the builder or developer has to give that also. But after handing over of the premises, it is the occupant's responsibility to take care of that campus. It's not that consultant was there, and now lifelong he is bonded with that.
Not lifelong. So some people.
I'm telling. That's
because
why.
after sales services,
after sales service, there are some in real estate bill. They have very, very specifically gave the lot of very strict responsibilities of the developer, and if they don't follow it, they don't do it. You can sue them. And they can be imprisoned also. There is a provision of nearly 6 months to 1 year provision of imprisonment of the developer. Same thing with the consultants. They have to indemnify what are the services they had given at the time and certify that. Okay, structural stability certificate as well as the authenticity of the plans, etc. But more disasters happen after the premises were handed over to the people. You remember the Poonam chamber, the accident? How many 30, 40 people died because they unauthorizedly constructed a huge water tank on the top. It gives a huge load on the terrace as well as because of the leakage, the reinforcement got corroded and the entire building collapsed. Same thing happened, I think 10, 12 years back. Some fellow sold a basement and somebody bought. He said, oh, he was doing interior and his interior designer advised him, remove this column. He removed a column and building collapsed.
This was science, Navare building science.
Yes. So such thing happens. That's why I was telling again and again that after the occupation of building, it is we to take a responsibility of the maintaining that building. That's why the maintenance is very important.
So, but in that builder is always still lifelong. He does not give the FSI right. So he's lifelong there. So if this part is included for 5 years or 10 years in the bill, it will solve the problem.
Builder has to do the conveyance. Their
answer was given of consumer court. Even consumer court backlog is of 5 years, 6 years. Even in high court, the writ, they are pending. So even if they go and fight, it will be a tiresome job. So even if it is done this at initial stage, it will be very appreciative.
What type of alteration in flats to be allowed or not to be allowed? Like removing, just as you told, balcony, the flower bed, just removing the wall, shifting the window just outside, then having grills outside, putting split AC unit there, removing weight-bearing walls. So I find it very difficult because this is a major problem on every flats. Secondly, sir, that recently a member bought 2 flats, one above other, and is trying to have access to. So, is it advisable or not advisable?
Basically, we have touched this point in our presentation. Again, I am saying, any changes you are making, except for fixed movable furniture, you have changing the doors, windows, I don't think any problem. But tampering with any structural member, one. Second thing is anything which is you are adding or deleting the loads. This is second thing. Then cutting the structural members, you have to consult a concerned structural engineer or the structural engineer who is authorized to work in Bombay Municipal Corporation and take the certificate that he has certified that particular modification and he is ready to undertake the responsibility of that particular building henceforth.
Yes.
This is very easy.
It is possible.
You can do it.
Yes, you can. Thank you.
My name is Matthew. I just want to know what are the typical anti-corrosion system being employed during the construction, because it is going inside, it is not visible. At least suppose if we take little bit care during that construction stage, I think it will enhance the life a lot. And second question, is the building code, national building code mandatory, or as of today, is it adequate?
To answer your first question would be rather technical. If you have a specific question, we can meet in person. But what is called commonly as cathodic protection is the very commonly used system which will ensure that the reinforcement which has gone inside the building does not corrode for a given period of time. Second is people do for coating, but coating I would not advise because the moment you cut the reinforcement anywhere, the efficacy of that coating goes away. Ideally, to prevent corrosion is to do excellent concrete without porosity and maintain that concrete. Do not puncture concrete anywhere because it gives rise. If you have an excellent concrete surrounding the reinforcement, the chances of corrosion are negligible. So ensure that. And National Building Code, you have asked a big question. It is, when you go to the preamble, it is recommendatory by nature. However, it becomes mandatory once the regulating authorities adopt it and ask the concerned architects and consultants certificate that the compliance with this code has been ensured. Then with that process, it becomes mandatory.
So, as per modern technology, is it adequate or are we time lagged?
See, considering that there are so many factors which are they are not mentioned in National Building Code. Suppose new materials, new technology, it is totally new, so they are not included in that. But as he said, National Building Code is a recommendatory. It's not a act. It's not a compulsory. It's a recommendatory because a compiled book for so many things, so many parameters about the building processes, even the permission process, etc. But still, the debates are going on. Now, the latest version of the National Building Code came out on 2005. Now, the process of again upgrading is going on. So they want to include which things are not included in 2005 National Building Code version. Now they are thinking of including that also.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Excuse me, sir. In continuation with this question, I just wanted to put one question. Can we make the compulsion to the builder at the construction stage to put a anti-corrosion paint protection to the toe steel bar for all the, from the footing stage to all the building and all the construction, same as it is being applied to the bridges, heavy bridges, or the toe steel bars are seen with the green color paint? Thank you. Compulsion has to be made compulsory to the builder.
Honestly, the code cannot make anything compulsory to the builder. It is usually under the category of what is advisable. And there's a difference between the infrastructure projects and the building projects, because those are fusion bonded epoxy treated reinforcements. In a given situation for bridges and highways, those are useful, but they have other problems in terms of other bonding properties and other issues. And as I said, that in bridge, these are precast boxes which are coming on site. For our apartments, you need to cut and bend the reinforcement at site. And if you bring that colored reinforcement as you see it, once you cut it, the efficacy is lost. So you need to adopt the technology which is appropriate for a given building. Right now you can't make anything compulsory, but what you can insist upon to do excellent quality of concrete, that you can insist upon a builder, which will prevent corrosion.
Good evening, sir. Hi, everybody. When it's a seller's market and we go to purchase a property from the builder, you suggested us to ask a number of questions before we buy the property. At the time, a lot of buyers have a fear that if we ask so many questions, then builder will tell us that I don't have a property for you. So what do we do?
Do you think that today is a seller's market?
Not today, but a few years back, there were times when there was a seller's market.
It happens. Basically, when you start questioning everybody,
okay.
You ask for a swimming pool, you ask for a jogging track, you ask for anti-corrosive steel. It's your duty whether you want to accept it or not. Ultimately, you ask something, if you are getting it, you take the property or you don't take the property. Once 5 consumer goes away, then they will think that consumer is aware of what is going inside the building, and people will start thinking in that line, and you will get the answer and you will get the quality. Till today, you are only looking at elevation, marble, good finishes. Once you start asking this question also, you will get it. When you are saying it's seller's market or buyer's market, it is what you ask for. You will get what you ask for.
Sure. I'll ask you later further.
Thank you very much. We are going to end this over here. I will take the questions one to one. You must please notice lots of people look at the watch and they leave. Please give us give our speakers a big hand.